What is up, YouTube, and wherever you might be watching this? Well, actually, only on YouTube. My name is Aaron, and I am, I guess you'd say the lead on this. But one of three. This is the second iteration of this. Many more to come. This is a sports talk show predominantly focused on the Denver Broncos and the Oregon State Beavers, football all the way. These conversations have been had for years and years and years with my brother and my dad, and we want to bring it to you guys. And so this is the second iteration of that. I'm going to introduce the rest of our cast right now. Like I said, my name's Aaron. I'm in Upland, California. We're going to bring in the man who made it all happen, my dad. Magnuson out in Albany, Oregon. He has no social handles, so there's no way to follow him outside of this moment right here. He is going off the grid after this. So if you have anything you'd like to say, you got to say it in here because there's no other place to find him. And last but certainly not least, the lifeblood of the three of us, my brother, younger brother, but in so many ways wiser brother, Connor Magnuson, hanging out in Meridian, Idaho. He does have a social handle. Go follow him on Instagram, Connor_Magnuson. I think that's right. Is that right, Connor?
Sounds right.
There you go.
Sounds right.
So this is the crew, and we got some stuff to talk about. If you want to, I don't even know where I think it lives on Facebook, but we ranted about the Broncos, and so we got a lot of baggage out of the way in that first episode. So we're going to be able to kind of take it off running here, but got to start by saying happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving tomorrow. Any thoughts on Thanksgiving really quick? Maybe a couple words on what Thanksgiving means to you.
Okay.
Death. I was gonna say death taxes, and not being able to name three players for the Lions in the early game.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thanksgiving, backyard football.
Yep.
Yeah.
Live for it. I'm not doing anything like that this year. You guys got any football game?
I'll be out there.
Nice. Nope, I will not be doing anything like that.
There you go.
I don't think there'll be the proper people to do that tomorrow. So where I'm going to be.
Hang up the cleats for this year. All right.
Yep.
That 9:30 game always sneaks up on me, for the record. Always find out that it's on, tune in midway through the first quarter. YouTube TV, just a quick plug for YouTube TV. Wish that would have existed when I was a child. Just going to throw that out there. For all those
you wish that cable TV existed in our household.
All of that, and internet.
Yeah.
Dial up.
Yeah, that would have been a good deal. We do have a live viewer, which is fantastic. If you're watching live or on replay, hop in that comment section. We will respond. Yeah, I wish we would have had that because we always listen to the games on the radio driving up. And I actually do have good memories about that. And then it was figuring out how to get to the TV and make that a socially acceptable play, turning the game on. And so YouTube TV would have alleviated a lot of that. A cell phone would have alleviated a lot of that. But yeah, so happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It is a good time of year, especially for football fans. But let's get right into this. And I just thought we'd start just the state of the Broncos. Any quick thoughts on Denver?
Well, they scored 3 points, so that was good.
I just got to read the quote from Dad, actually, because he's repeating himself here. We scored 3 points against a good defense, against a top 5 defense. We'll take it where we can get it.
Yeah, yep. Just never felt like there's a chance in the game. Just never felt confident. And I mean, It's you go into the game with a win-win mentality. You know, a loss counts towards a better draft position. A win is a win. So it's easier from that perspective than getting frustrated earlier in the year with losses. But yeah, you just don't feel great about your chances week to week, for sure.
For me, it was a win-win because if the Broncos won, that's all right. But the Bills are doing well this year, and Jordan Poyer plays for the Bills, and so I'd love to see the Bills make a run. They play tomorrow. That'll actually be the highlight of my Thanksgiving in regards to the games that are on tomorrow. Watching Poyer play. Yeah, that I just I want to see some. I think I'm in the same spot that I was at the last time we did this. I want to see good stuff from Denver, but I don't. I also don't like. I'm all right if we're losing out here.
Yeah, I think that it's just always interesting to see what happens or what you see on the field. You never know really what you're going to get from week to week with the Broncos. Allen, I think, has his moments at times, and then other times, well, give it to the other team.
Is Allen the future?
No, I mean Drew Lock's the future, but time will tell on that. And I've heard rumors that he's going to try to get more playing time, but I don't think he's ready. I don't know when he'll be ready. I've said it before. I think we need to build the offense around him and the scheme. He needs to be more in. I think Mahomes. Obviously not talent-wise, but a scheme like the Chiefs have, a scheme like the Texans have, more where he can move around a little bit and more RPO based. But Scangarello, from what I can tell, is still a West Coast guy. With Garoppolo and was he a Shanahan guy? So with Matt Ryan and whoever they had in Washington back in the day. It seems like they're setting, we run a West Coast style offense and sort of, I shouldn't say West Coast, but just, drop back passing offense with the zone run scheme. And you kind of feel like you're the dinosaur of the NFL, honestly, when you just see Lamar Jackson absolutely shredding the Rams the other night. And that's a loaded statement, but I mean, it's hard. It's hard to watch a last of a dying breed offense from week to week.
Agreed.
I would add anything to add to that.
No, I just said that I agree with that.
Perfect. This is a good segue into the Ravens. Just gonna have a quick moment to talk about Booger McFarland, because they were on Monday night. Now, before we shred Booger, one of the things that he said about 1,000 times is that the Ravens, he alluded to this, that the Ravens are one of many teams who have completely restructured the entire franchise of their team around a quarterback, like changing the offense, completely scrapping. He referred to it as a Lamar Jackson team multiple times. I was sitting there thinking, first of all, that is what happened. So I do agree with him. That is what happened. But Booger is an idiot. I don't know what other team has completely made an entire playbook for the franchise of their team around a unique player like that. Name another team.
And there you go.
Yeah, you're saying he thinks they're copying that blueprint?
He was saying that it's really smart because, quote, this is what good teams do.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so the reason that we just got done talking about Drew Lock. While Booger's an idiot, I don't think that other teams have actually done that. I think the Ravens are actually the first to do that. especially on the level that they're doing. You could make an argument that Denver did it a little bit with Tebow, but they had no interest in actually changing the entire. It was like a scaled back version. They didn't like recreate the playbook for Tebow, which would have been an interesting play because Tebow was just as dominant in college, if not more so, as Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson's clearly much better at throwing the ball. But I'm wondering, does Denver take a play out of the Ravens playbook and try and do that for Drew Lock?
I don't know, man. I don't see that happening with Elway, being the head of everything. I just still see it being stuck in that dinosaur age like you were talking about.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see it happening either. The one that came to mind obviously was Mahomes, and I think while he's comparable to Alex Smith, Andy Reid did need to redesign that offense a little bit to Mahomes' skill set, and so
I still felt like
rebuilt that.
The other
one you can make an argument about is honestly the Patriots, but they've obviously had Tom Brady for decades now, so it's the same thing, but as far as an innovation perspective and building, but you're right, they did build everything around Tom Brady, but more so I think they just build around their talent in general. So you're right. I guess a quarterback wise, maybe a Deshaun Watson, but yeah, nothing transformative. Maybe a Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, but none of those offenses, even Andy Reid, none of those offenses inherently changed. Like John Harbaugh did not run this before Lamar Jackson. And frankly, nobody's run this offense before Lamar Jackson. Like they completely redid everything because of who Lamar was. And I don't think any other franchise has completely upended everything about themselves for the sake of one piece like that.
Yeah, I understand. I agree with what you're saying on that Andy Reid was still kind of more of an offensive, or
right.
He was innovative in his offensive schemes and stuff.
Like Mahomes fit into Andy Reid. Lamar Jackson didn't fit into nobody, and John Harbaugh like humbled himself and was like, "No, I'm going to fit into Lamar Jackson." And I don't think that's ever happened before. But Booger, tying it back to what we're talking about, Booger was going on and on and on about how that's what the great teams do. And I'm like, Booger, what are you talking about? Nobody's ever done this before. Yeah. And then it just got me thinking, should Denver completely throw everything away? And is Drew Lock the guy that we make a Missouri offense around Drew Lock and just let him run?
I think they should. I don't think they will.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
So then to segue again, are the Ravens for real?
Yeah, I think they are. I was, after that game, I was thinking about, I think that they're just getting better and coming up with their own identity and understanding how to play with each other. And it'll be the game coming up this week between them and the 49ers. Everybody's saying that it's going to be, the Super Bowl preview. We'll see, but it should be an interesting game. I think that I think the Ravens are more real than what the Niners are. I think the Niners still have holes in there, but yeah, I think the Ravens are the real thing. But we'll see. But then again,
I think they're
thinking about when they played the Patriots and how bad the Patriots were playing. I still think that they were playing, playing possum a little bit. They weren't showing all their cards and
playing for the playoffs, not playing for that game.
Right.
I'd sign off on that.
Yeah, I think two things. I think, it's really hard to beat a team twice, and especially when that team is the Patriots. I don't see them getting past the Patriots. on the AFC side, and I think I still hold the belief that eventually Lamar Jackson will take a shot. I think he doesn't hold up long term, but I don't know how long that can last, because you do have your Russell Wilson, where I think I saw something the other day where he's never missed an NFL game, and so that's as a scrambling quarterback doing that. But body build wise, it seems different, and I see a Baker Mayfield or Russell Wilson body type wise, and I don't know, Lamar does seem to be a little more prone to an injury, and but I mean, nobody can catch him on some of those runs. Like literally, they can't get a clean shot on him. So I don't know if he ever will get hit. That's the verdict, I think, is still out on that. But I don't see them getting past the Patriots. I think that's the AFC Championship, though, for sure. I mean, it's not a hot take
Patriots,
at all.
Ravens.
Yeah.
For me, I do think they're for real. And I liken where they're at to where the Chiefs were and have been the past 2 years. And what I have always said about the Chiefs and Andy Reid is the gimmick offense doesn't win. Like it doesn't take you to the promised land, and that has played out for the past 2 years. When you face a real team, you don't win on the gimmicks. And Connor's missing the meat of the conversation here. This device is not connected. There he is. All right, back at it. So I feel like the Chiefs' gimmick offense doesn't work. I feel like while it looks similar, the Ravens are not a gimmick offense. They're a tried and true offense, a tried and true college offense that has clearly worked. And it's based around the running game, which makes them different than the Seahawks with the Russell Wilson type, where they just scramble, chuck it up. I still to this day do not understand how it continues to work. I thought that kind of street yard lucky chuck it up at the last second would stop working. But it hasn't. It happens every single week. It's unbelievable. I just don't understand it. And then you have the Andy Reid, the gimmicky offense, where it's just like when you out gimmick the gimmick, it just doesn't work. But like watching them play the Rams, it was just like we're going to. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of our West Albany offense, in the sense of like we're literally going to run the same play 4 times in a row, and if you still haven't stopped it on the 4th time, we're going to run it again. Like they just did not stop running the ball. And so for me, that instantly makes it different than like an Andy Reid or a Pete Carroll offense, where it still looks like you're just doing a bunch of like smoke and mirrors with your offense, but it's really just like, we're just going to run the power. And Mark Ingram is perfect for that. And so I do think that they have a lot of good players, like all the right players in the right spots, but I think it's a more tried and true offense than what Andy Reid has done and what Pete Carroll has done with Russell Wilson. And so I do think they're for real. Now, can they beat the Patriots 2 times in a row? I don't know, but I like their chances more than I liked Mahomes' chances when they played the Patriots in the playoffs. And so I think they're for real.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Russell Wilson a little bit too, and the Seahawks, because it doesn't seem like the Seahawks have really changed their offense to match Russell Wilson's. I think to a point, but yet the plays that are the big plays of the Seahawks that involve Russell Wilson aren't designed. It's just him improvising at the end.
Yes.
And coming up with stuff. And they're winning despite the play calling, just because of Russell Wilson.
Yes. I feel like that. I feel like that too. And it gets more exposed. Like the Seahawks were a better team when they had a running game, Marshawn Lynch. And I feel like you can tell a fake gimmicky offense from a real one if real offenses have a real running game. I would say it that way. I would say it that way. And I don't feel like the Chiefs do.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're Patrick Mahomes. I don't feel like they do. And I feel like I would actually draw a comparison to the Chiefs and a Peyton Manning Colts. And I'd really be curious to hear what Connor has to say about this. But in this sense, when Peyton Manning didn't have a good running back, it did not matter how many touchdown passes he threw or how many points he scored. Now, to also be fair, he never had a really good defense when he was in Indianapolis. But I just feel like I just feel like you have to have a real running game to solidify yourself, because the Ravens just they milk that clock. They take those long drives, but they're also explosive, like big plays, and they have that nice happy medium of both. It really allows them to control the game. But
What happened to Connor? They must have bad internet connection out in Idaho.
We're going to move on. Dad, are the Beavers going bowling?
Dude, they had their chance.
They did.
They blew it, man.
I know.
I don't see them beating Oregon in Autzen, although it'd be really cool, but I don't see that happening.
Are the Beavers going bowling, Connor?
What was the line? 19.5.
Is it really
19? Yeah, what wasn't as bad as I thought, honestly.
I'll give them the grandpa.
I think they'll.
Yeah,
I think they'll come within 19. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I feel like they'd cover.
Put your money where your mouth is, big boy. Get to a bookie.
I asked. Let me find this. When do they play? Do they play Friday or Saturday? Saturday.
Yeah, I believe Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah, the line's 19-5. I asked a question to a former Beaver, Tim Clark, today, and I asked him because I said I asked him for a score prediction on the Civil War, and he's like, "Well, it's tough because I don't know which Beavers team is going to show up." And so I asked him a better question, and I'll ask you guys: if the best version of the Beavers shows up against the Ducks, the best version that you've seen this year of the Beavers shows up, do we have a chance if the best version of the Beavers show up? Can we beat Oregon?
If Oregon has a bad day, then yeah, I think they could. There's enough there. It's just not consistent enough.
Yeah, I think offensively, for sure, I think we could put up points. Because I don't think Oregon's defense is really that good. I think we can play against them. But so I think that would keep us in the game. And that's the only reason why I'm thinking they can come within 19.
Yeah, I should have switched this here. Now we're talking about specifically the Civil War. I don't think they're going bowling. If I'm a betting man, we were gifted that game last weekend against Wazoo. Not only that's where they fell in our schedule for our sixth win, but just how that game fell. Being up 10, I think with probably like 6 or 5 minutes left in the game, whatever that was, just that's a gift. And we missed it. So this would be even more of a gift if Oregon somehow gives us this. But I don't think we're going bowling. But what I like about that is I think there was enough meat on the bone this year where it gets our beaks wet for next year. So that's I guess what I would hold out for. Assuming that's EJ, cameo, love it. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Beavers or the Civil War? We didn't really talk about the Beavers last time.
I was just going to talk about, maybe I can't talk about this yet, but the Pac-12 in general.
Oh, let's go there. Let's talk about the Pac-12 and
people now know me as the Pac-12 beats up on each other every year guy. I come in with that statement about midway through every year, and It's true. I mean, we're just we're waiting on Utah now to blow it against someone, or for Oregon to beat them in the Pac-12 championship, or whoever is. Does Oregon still have a berth? I think they're the shoe-in, right?
Yeah. Nobody else is near.
I think they have to win. Actually, I think they have to win. But anyway,
Washington. There's no way Washington's got a chance.
Every year is there really anything else to say other than Pac-12 beating up on each other every year?
I don't know. Are they beating up on each other? I mean, this last game against Arizona State in Oregon, I don't know if that was just or Arizona State being able to show that Oregon isn't what everybody thought they were, and to the rest of the nation, it's like, there goes the Pac-12 again, and now our only hope is Utah, and I don't think people are going to buy off.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I mean, nobody wants to watch that. No one wants to watch that Arizona State Oregon game. Are you kidding me? That should have been this goes back to the conversation. Where were we having this conversation? When you guys came visited a couple weekends ago. What did I talk about with Ohio State? They take the crappy Big Ten schools and they put up 50 on them and barely let them even sniff around on the other side of the field. And that was that game for Oregon. And that's what happens when Oregon, we don't have – Connor, I know you say the Pac-12 beats up on – my take is that the Pac-12 is a lesser conference. We don't have that team or those teams that just suffocate the rest of the teams. Now, top to bottom, we might be like a B or a C, whereas everybody else would average out to a B or a C, but they would be on the polls. They would have some A teams. We're Bs or Cs all the way through, whereas other conferences have Fs and Ds at the bottom. So I do understand that piece of it, but we don't have A players. And we've seen that when we've put is our only playoff for Oregon went the first year. When we put our teams in the college football playoff, it's embarrassing. And that's where I'm gauging us, our A teams against the rest of the conference's A teams.
Right. And you want to think that Utah is legit, but can you believe it? I mean,
I know.
I mean,
and that's my point.
Lost to USC. Who are their win? You look at the schedule.
What I look at though,
they lost to USC when their quarterback was hurt. I don't know. Some people say they have a real defense. It's just really hard to tell.
Well, and that's what they say about Washington, right? So schedule. I trust they got a beefy D line. I stick with the Mike Riley. I don't care what era of football we play in. Mike Riley always said this: run the ball on offense, stop the run on defense, and you win the game. And if you look at stat lines, that's generally true. The team that doesn't run the ball as well loses. And Utah for sure can run the ball, and they got beef on their D line, and so they can stop the run. So I know everybody talked really big things about Washington's defense that year. They got rolled up on against Alabama, which might have just been a buzzsaw. That's a tough out in the first round of the playoffs. But I do think that Utah is as for real as that Washington team, or more so. I mean, that was Jake Browning. I mean, come on, they didn't have a real offense, and I feel like Utah does have a real offense. So, I know that they're well coached. So I like to think that they're at least as good, if not better, than that Washington team that we threw into the playoffs a couple years ago. But I don't know.
Utah would be, and this is an interesting year, and I don't know if we have this next on the agenda, but talk about the playoff a little bit more.
Yep.
This would be a great year for 8 teams, I feel like, because you do have three pretty strong SEC teams. You sprinkle in, you're probably one Pac-12 team, you're Oklahoma, and then I was going to ask you about Clemson. Do you, obviously talent-wise, they're very much not in this realm, but just with who they played this year, is this basically a Boise State or a UCF where, let's be honest, the latter half of their year, probably to some extent mailing it in a little bit to prep and make sure they're healthy for the playoff.
Yep.
I mean, what else are you doing? You don't play anyone.
Yep.
I mean, and so that we can do our playoff predictions if we want, but the more interesting part of it for me is how do you if ever put a stop to the top 7 or so teams that are in the mix every year? How do you make that 20 teams that actually have a chance in the playoff, or 30, or is it impossible to take away the top oligopoly of teams that make it every year?
Dad, you got thoughts?
Yeah, that Clemson thing is interesting. The only reason why they're going to be in the playoffs is because of past history, and they already know, who they are based on past years or whatever. And but yeah, you're right, Connor. I do think that that's true with this being the perfect year for having 8 teams. That way it would show for sure, in a short amount of time, I would think, if Clemson is for real.
Yep. I also feel like what's interesting about what you said, Connor, is how you were talking about the 8 teams just there based on what you said. You're saying an 8 team on the college football ranking list, not automatic bids, which I would subscribe to. What I'm hesitant about
however you'd want to do it. Yeah. There wouldn't be any AQs or anything like conference champion. I mean, it probably would work out to where the conference champions are.
That's my hesitancy.
Yeah, just the 8.
If they had the balls to say, "Hey, we're going to do an 8-team college football playoff based on the best 8 teams, no AQs," I'd be high key into that. But I don't. But they've never done. They've never done that before. There's always automatic bids. Anytime you're talking more than 4, there's automatic qualifiers, and it's like, no, that's not what I want to see. This is the top 8.
What do you guys think is what do you guys think is the right amount of teams?
I'd be down with 8.
Yeah, 8 has always been my number.
Asterisk
8 seems right. 8 seems right.
Asterisk no AQ. This, if that were true, this is who's in today. Ohio State, LSU. Well, let's do who would play each other. Ohio State would play Minnesota. Gonna see that anyway, so this is irrelevant. LSU plays Oklahoma. Give me all of that.
Yeah.
Clemson would play Utah.
That would be interesting. That'd be fun.
Super interesting game. And Georgia would play Alabama. Again, that's not how that's going to go down, because the end of the year, a lot of that stuff's going to kind of start getting weeded out. But you have teams like Baylor knocking on the door, Penn State, Florida, Wisconsin, even Michigan. Can't wait for Michigan, Ohio State this weekend. But I guess even
see, all those teams that you just listed after 8.
Yeah,
there's no way. I don't think they should be in the playoffs.
Totally. So I'm totally fine with that as long as there's no AQs. But I have never heard someone talk about 8 teams without automatic qualifiers.
You look at a team like Georgia, who's probably not going to make it this year if they lose in the SEC championship, and it's like that's a real team. I mean,
yes.
And let's go ahead and say they do win the SEC championship. Then you either have to still stick LSU in, and Georgia would be in, and then you'd have Clemson and
Ohio State.
Ohio, and it's just like, okay, they're filled up. It's game over, and you can't see how real Utah is. You can't see if Oklahoma can pull one out. And regardless, I think we've had this discussion in the past. Aaron, you're about finding the best team right?
Yes.
Dad and I think, are more entertainment based, right?
Yeah.
Where we just want to see those matchups. But I don't think you disagree that you would still want to see those matchups.
For
LSU,
sure.
Oklahoma. I mean, come on. Like, yeah,
Unless,
no, everyone would love to see that.
yeah, of course.
And from
Unless what you start to find is that because there would ultimately be 3 games, right? Unless you start to find that the natty, the very final game, is cheapened from a fatigue standpoint because of having to play 3 bowl games instead of 2, and what used to be just 1.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't go along with that just because everybody else does it that way except for Division One,
That's true.
FBS.
I respect that. I respect that. That's a good call.
And
SEC,
obviously the pros.
LSU or Alabama, Auburn get their bye week every week before the Iron Bowl every year with the cupcake opponent. They bake in things like that those things go unnoticed, but that's not anything the Pac-12 does. That's nothing the Big Ten does, and I think it comes down to it averages back to the middle. But
so if Georgia loses the SEC championship, is Bama in?
That's my problem. That is exactly my problem, and that's my problem with them sitting at number 5 right now. Is that's exactly what the college football thing is saying.
Yeah,
with Tua out,
I'd pump the brakes. I'd pump the brakes on that a little bit. I think Bama is out because of Tua, and the committee has the jurisdiction to say that and to establish that. Oh shoot, they don't have Tua. No, like we're not.
But these rankings came out after they knew that, though.
No, it's a ranking based on a point in time. It's right now. It's not a predictive ranking. So as far as Utah beating Oregon or more teams proving their worth in the future, it's a now in time ranking, not a forecasted. If it was a forecasted ranking, you'd forecast that someone has to win between LSU and Georgia, and you'd pop Georgia out probably. So Alabama can get past, is what I'm saying, and
for sure,
likely will.
For sure, I'm totally down with that. But you're saying Alabama right now without Tua, you're confident enough to say that they're a better team than Utah right now?
That's fair. No, I'm not. Well, maybe I am saying that, but I'm not necessarily saying that. I think the committee takes the prove it to me approach, and then as they go week to week, Alabama's not just getting kicked out because of Tua, but as the Iron Bowl might show, if it's a close game, or if,
that's fair, because they played a crap team this week,
until
right?
proven guilty. Innocent until proven guilty, but I think they will get proven that Alabama's not the same without Tua. At which point, I don't have them in the playoff. I think that's a travesty if they make the playoff. Honestly,
if they make the playoffs without going to the SEC championship game, that is crap.
Without beating 2 top 25 opponents.
Yep.
Yeah, but okay. So let's say they did have Tua. They could easily be the number 4 again.
I don't think that's the same thing.
I do. I don't think Bama gets to go if they can't make it to their conference championship game.
But that happened. Was that last year?
I know what happened. It can't happen again. That's crap.
I know it's crap.
You can't skate by a game.
You just said you're not. You just said you're not a fan of AQs.
No, so I know. But here's what I'm saying. I think ultimately what I'm not a fan of is conference championship games. Here's why. You're going to punish Georgia for making it to the game because they're probably going to lose to LSU. Why don't you punt on it, give it to Alabama, and let them lose again? Like, you're punishing a team for going to the conference championship game. Do you know what I mean? That's essentially what you're saying.
I want to say though that they take all that into consideration.
But they didn't that one year.
Subjective.
That one year they didn't.
They obviously
Now I'll eat crow.
The
Did
biggest
Bama
thing-
win it that year?
What year was that?
I don't remember. There's a great chance
I mean,
Bama actually did win that.
It is a blend. It is just a wash of Clemson versus Alabama in the mid 2000 teens. I just have no idea what happened from year to year. But the one thing that I will actually go back to and respect is the 59-0 thrashing against Wisconsin that Ohio State had. And what do you know? They win. They actually win that year.
Dude, that was the first year. And can we go down the laundry list of quarterbacks that Ohio State? They were down to their third string quarterback, Cardale Jones, and just torched the college football playoff. That was sick.
I don't think that was and the pro, their pro careers will attest to this, but I don't think it mattered who you stuck behind center that year.
Yeah.
Lined Zeke up at quarterback that year. I mean,
dude.
Anyway, not to get bogged down with that, but that
was everything. That was the best version.
First year, yeah, it was. I agree.
And probably to the detriment, like very similar to Elway winning it with Manning, right? We've talked about this a lot. We're stuck with 4 teams because 4 teams worked flawlessly that first year.
Yeah.
Ohio State slips in and then wins the Cinderella, and Jameis just gets shredded by Oregon. That was it was just perfect.
I don't think we addressed this point too much, but I was curious about it. Do you guys care, or do you think there's a way to kind of decentralize college football again, or do you think it's always gonna fall back to the top 8 teams in the? Because I feel like basketball is a little bit different. I mean, then again, and even NFL, you're generally getting back to a small pool of champions. But is there a way to make it so it's not the big 6 every year? I mean, the top 7 teams every year.
Short answer I would say is no. There isn't a way to do that. I think the only way it happens is if you get some sort of Pony Express type of thing where a bunch of high players are in high school, they all come together and they're let's see if we can make this program dope. And then they all just go to a lesser program. But I don't think there's any way to regulate it or naturally make it happen outside of people making decisions to go to smaller schools.
But it seems like that always kind of happens where for whatever reason, the better teams just kind of start dwindling down or not being as good. But I don't know.
Yeah, but it just pendulum swings back to the other 8 that are dominant.
Yeah, true.
Short answer is no.
I guess I'm thinking in terms of potentially scheduling or conferences, a way that Clemson has to get beat up a little bit during the regular season so that they actually play some teams from week to week. So maybe every 5 years a dynamic shifting of conferences. I don't know how that would kind of like they do in the European soccer leagues where they
last
cut some
place
teams
goes
every year
down and first place from another conference goes up. It would be interesting. It would certainly give those mid majors a chance. I'd be into that. I don't know how you'd structure that.
I mean,
I'd be into that for the NFL. By the way,
do we need conferences? Is that an economic stalwart to the NCAA system? I don't know enough about that, but could we have just regions?
Everybody's just have independent, or everybody's independence.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of tradition.
Yeah.
That people would have to give up, and I know that there'd be a huge outcry for that.
Yeah, I don't know that I actually want to watch that. I don't know that I want to watch that for the sake of balance. I love the pageant. Right. I'm totally fine with the same teams every year. not the same teams, but like this. I'm totally fine with the same 10, and then maybe because then it's like a fight every year to crack in, like a Minnesota. Like, there's some incentive there, and they're going to get some recruits because of this season and because of that coach. So there's chances. It's just few and far between. But I think that's what I love.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I have heard a couple of different ideas, and they all just sound,
Yep.
I don't know how that would
and no,
work in real life.
It's more an interesting just exercise to think about how they could do that if they wanted. But yeah, I'm not saying I'm necessarily for it. I think it's interesting, and I think you get it more so in the NFL with the any given Sunday concept, how the Falcons can come out of nowhere and just blow out the Saints, a couple weeks ago, and you just, oh, how did that happen? NFL is more. You can actually go into a week thinking you have a chance to win, and there are those just mystery upsets. And sure, Oregon against Arizona State, but you don't necessarily have the same amount of, I would say, just large scale upsets, or
Totally.
like I said, the big teams going down, or jumping out of the playoff picture. But
yeah.
All right, we end every single episode. We've only done 2, but any that we do, we'll always end it this way. Which player are we thankful is no longer a Denver Bronco? First one to say it,
Brandon
that is who we're all
Marshall.
signing off on.
Brandon Marshall.
Which one?
What? The more recent linebacker.
The linebacker.
Washed.
Yep.
Thank you for
signing
your service.
off on Brandon Marshall.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We are thankful that Brandon Marshall is not on the Denver Broncos any longer. Until next time, whenever that is.
Yep.
We need to come up with it. We need to come up with like a really good thing, like how in red green. Just a really good ending tagline. I feel like this question gets there, but I don't know what our ending tagline is. Anyways, happy Thanksgiving. Peace.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Peace out.